Welcome, the creator of a game called Money Dash. In this video, we will be making a prototype for a minigame. Since it is a longer process, I had already set up a background, a prefab for our entities, and a building sprite. To begin, let's create a script to spawn the enemy monsters, and a new game object to contain this script, called Monster Spawner. For our spawner script, we will be using object pooling in an array. In the start method, we call invoke repeating. This will call our spawn method when a certain amount of time passes, and beginning from the second we specify. In this case from the second 0 and every spawn time seconds. In a new script, called Enemy AI, we will create the code to handle our AI behavior. For now, let's make them move to the left. In the start method of our spawner script, let's fill our array of enemies, instantiating our prefab, adding the enemy AI script, and making them look to the left. Let's be sure of disable our new created enemies. Next, in the spawn method, we will just check if the enemy is active. If it is not, then we will activate it or spawn it. While I was looking the game, I thought, it was better if there are 2 castles. Let's make a castle destroy, our winning condition. Remember, this is a prototype, it can have many bad practices, and a lot of try and error. Let's put our monster spawner at the entrance of the castle in the right. Let's test our spawn script now. Here, in our enemy AI script, for now we just set a run animation for our enemies. We make the move to the left in the update method, and we check if there are too far. If it is so, we disable our enemy and restart its position. Now let's create a new interface to control the damage of our entities, and if they are alive. Now, we create a new script called Castle Controller. This script will check if there are any life left to the castle, and apply the damage to it. When there will be any life point left, it will call the victory or game over. For now, let's add a collider to our soldier prefab. We will be adding a rigid body too. The same process will be applied to the castles. us any comment about what you think of the video. We have created two layers, one for the enemies and other one for the allies. In this way, we will prevent when check for collisions, that our script find its own allies. Let's assign the corresponding layer to the castles and soldiers. Here, in our enemy AI script, let's check on collision enter, if the layer of the collider game object is equal to the passing team layer. Like that, we are making us sure to get only the enemies. If we got an enemy, we try to get our interface from it, and if our interface it is not null, we apply damage to the target. Let's create a Boolean variable, called moving. When it will be false, the AI will not move. This will prevent it from moving while attacked. Next, let's implement the isAlive method of our interface. Since it should return a Boolean value, let's return health more than 0. This means, if we have at least one life point isAlive is equal true, otherwise it will return false. In our enemy AI script, let's create an attack method. Once again it will be controlled by a Boolean variable called attacking. All of this should be made. Creating a state machine and using using the switch method. Since I am prototyping, I will just do it with Boolean variables and if conditions. Now, let's create a UI button to spawn our ally soldiers. Let's also create a game over text, a victory text, and a controller script for our UI. In our UI castle control script, let's grab the references to every UI object we will handle. Let's also create an event to control when one castle dies, if you do not know how to use events. Check our video about that. To avoid you getting bad practices from the video, remember to subscribe to the events on the on-enable method of your script, and unsubscribe from it in the on-disable method. Now, let's create a spawner script for our own units being spawned. This script will be almost the same as our monster spawner script. Before we begin with it, let's go to our UI controller, and in our game over method, let's disable every spawner object, and enable the game over text. Let's put our spawn method inside of a coroutine, to have more control of when the player can spawn a soldier. If you do not know how to use coroutines, we also have a video on that. Let's create a variable to store our AI layer, and assigning it to our soldiers when they are created. Let's make our ally soldiers go to the right, and let's test very quick if our animations works fine besides of our on game over event. Now, we will create an attack rate system to prevent the AI from attacking every frame. Let's also copy the system for both of our teams. Let's create a reset soldier method for when our soldier dies. Finally, we also created a health variable for our soldiers and implemented the AI damage method. reset completely our soldier, we need to store their original life points, to restore it when we use the reset method. In this quick test, we can see that almost everything works fine. The enemies goes left and attack our units. We can spawn units with our button. And our allies goes to the right attacking the enemies. Now we have to fix the soldiers stay stuck when their target dies. This happens because, when a soldier dies, it disables their game object and its attacker stays locked, with an empty target. Let's fix first, the fact that we always will have game over. This happens because we did not create yet our victory text. Also the castle controller script treats both castles as allies. So let's create a boolean variable that makes the difference between allied castle and enemy castle. In this test, we forgot to assign the victory text to our UI controller. Now, to fix the soldiers locking with a dead target, let's create a callback system for our damage method. This callback system will tell us if the target is alive after the attack, or if it is dead. This last test was longer than the rest since the soldiers have their attack rate reduced. Now we can see everything works perfectly. Remember, this is a prototype. You can create many things from here. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you found this video helpful, consider to subscribe and like, so you help others to find it.